panel. So please put your hands together for Colin. And afterwards, join us for drinks, sponsored by Whirl. Thanks very much.
Oh, gosh. Because we've saved the best to last. We've heard a lot today from platform providers, from TVOS vendors. We just had a great discussion about fasts. We are now going to give you a more 360-degree view from content providers and one platform provider on distribution and partnerships in the real world. So I'm really excited about our discussion today. So what I'm going to ask each of you to do is introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask you each to opine on an opening question. So Mike, why don't you go first, introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Mike Echternach. I'm working for Deutsche Telekom Group, one of the biggest operators worldwide, and since a couple of weeks the #1 telco brand worldwide, and working in the TV field where we manage business in 10 European markets.
Very good. Kate?
Thank you. I'm Kate Dean, and I'm consulting for Universal Pictures Content Group. So I manage a couple of SVOD apps in the lifestyle space. So one is a fitness app with Davina McCall, and one is a mindful wellness app with Fern Cotton.
Very good. Ben?
I am Ben Pugh. I manage partnerships for Sandbox Group, particularly for our Play Kids brand, and I head up the distribution of our SVOD channels, fast channels, and CTV strategy.
And Anita?
Hi, I'm Anita Barnard. I look after distribution for Marquee TV, which is a SVOD platform for the performing arts, so opera, ballet, classical music, that sort of thing.
Very good. Okay, so I think you would have had to have been under a rock for the last year to not notice that things have changed quite a lot in the world of streaming. So I'd like each of you to explain how your distribution and partnering strategies have changed over the last year or so. So I don't want me to start with you, Anita.
Yeah, so for us, we're still a relatively new company, and we relied quite heavily on distribution partners, especially Amazon Prime channels, to really grow our subscriber base. In the last year, we've re-platformed, and we're looking very much how can we own that subscriber, their information, and how can we really speak to them more. So slightly going to a more D2C approach, actually.
Very interesting. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the data that you're looking to harvest there.
Well, it's really user journeys. Why are people coming in? Actually, I think performing arts is a very specific niche, but actually within that niche, you've got opera, ballet, and they all have different audiences. So how do people go, what are they coming in for, and what's their user journey throughout that, and how can we create content, even commission content, to really help those users get the content that they want on the platform.
So it's not just about customization, it's about actually funding content with this information.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just, for example, bought a Alvin Ailey documentary, and people are coming in for dance, and we're commissioning content with Akram Khan, which is about moving and performance. So really serving that dance audience. And we wouldn't know that if we didn't know how many people are actually watching dance on the platform and what we should focus on.
Very good. Very good. Ben?
For us, it's been about diversification and expanding on the distribution outlets that really work for us. So on the SVOD side, you know, we do a lot with Amazon Prime Video channels as well. Yeah. And what we've been focused on in the last year in particular is expanding the territories where we distribute. So utilizing Amazon as a really strategic partner. And then on the diversification side, you know, we're entering the fast market and the AVOD market, and we're looking at how do we take what is currently a very mobile-led application and working with the connected platforms to secure wider distribution as well. So it's like focusing on the things that work and testing out some new business models too.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about why Prime Video? Why are they such an important partner for you?
I mean, it's the accessibility and the, you know, for us it's meant that we haven't had to, as of yet, develop individual applications for the Play Kids product. We can go via Amazon and be available on all of those devices where the Prime Video app is available. And then we can funnel all of our marketing into one platform to really grow the subscriber growth. So, you know, it's about that focus point in terms of what's going to impact the business the most in the shortest amount of time. And then we can use that revenue growth to funnel new projects.
So for you, you saw it as the shortest distance between content to distribution. Is that a good encapsulation?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, there's a lot of competition in the kid space. For eyeballs, there's a lot of very similar products out there.
Yep.
Amazon is a platform that enables us to be very territory focused. So where we've spent money localizing kids content, we can go to Amazon and say, we have a localized catalog and we can be one of the only kids providers in those territories where it makes the most sense for us. And then in the broader territories like the US, Amazon is a platform where, yes, there's 100 plus Prime Video channels, but the acquisition route for a user is much less stringent than it is on mobile, where our iOS and Android applications sit.
Very good. Kate, how have things changed for you?
Well, I think despite a history of working really in general entertainment, so movies and television, the last several years I've been working more in these sort of passion-led verticals, so automotive and now fitness and lifestyle. And so the last 12 months has really been experimenting with retail partnerships. So trying to find some symbiosis between the physical goods that they offer and maybe the solution-based utility that my products do. So that sort of span from clothing to hot drinks to mattresses and beds and just a whole variety of things. And I can sort of come on and tell you a bit more about that if you.
So passion topics were actually one of the things that when I first started covering this space in a long time ago, that's something that really got me excited about this space, because they were an area that are neglected by traditional media purely and simply because traditional media has limited bandwidth. And you could actually reach a very large dispersed audience with your platforms. So that's, have you found that it's really been a great engagement experience for you? You've been able to reach those users?
It's been hugely refreshing for me, because I think you make the point. And in general entertainment, if you haven't got deep pockets for content budgets like the Netflixes and the Disneys of the world and marketing budgets to match, then it's very, very difficult to compete. And yet there's this other side of the coin for direct to consumer, which is that where you've got huge distribution lists, people are very sticky, they're passionate, they care very much about your brand, and there is this opportunity to offer them content that they are interested in. Churn is generally quite low, they're sticky, they're interested, and you can capture these communities in a way that perhaps has not got the awareness that some of these other great big streaming platforms have.
Yeah, boy, we could do a whole panel on this topic. I love this topic.
It is fascinating. I've absolutely loved it. Honestly, it's been a real privilege.
Mike, so how have partnerships? How has that changed for you over the last year or so?
Well, in terms of content, first, maybe we're not a content powerhouse like
right.
the other colleagues here, but we still produce some own content, very selective, which we still keep on our platform or try it out on Twitch or YouTube. There's like more digital channels, but we don't sub-license it to like Prime or whatever so far. In terms of partnerships, similar like to a lot of other operators we heard this morning, we have this super aggregation strategy. So that is why in the past we made the decision to go with Android as an operating system, because it's really easy for the customer to basically access all their different apps via the Play Store, and we don't need a commercial construct with all those partners. Obviously, there are some where we have to be, and what has changed in this relation with the partners. In the past, we were seen as an operator mainly. We are the guys that can bring you the old linear folks that we cannot address. Please bring them to us, and best case, give them the 12 or 24-month contract. Nice. But also we had to react basically to changing customer behavior and pandemic, when people were more focusing cost sensitive and more sensitive on switching. So they didn't stick to Netflix 12 months. If the series run out and they said there's something in Disney, they had to switch. And this is also how we had to adapt our commercial models in the opcos to make it more flexible with like a base tariff on our lineup, linear, but flexible in the add-on packages of partners.
So wow, you've actually changed platforms so that you could move to a more aggregator type model. Talk to us about how you pick how do you pick partners to work with to aggregate into the service? How does that happen?
It's the short answer is it's a number game. It's about if the content is really relevant and our customers are asking for it, then there's an appetite to operate with those partners. Luckily, to what Android TV brings to us, we are also able to basically not having a commercial model with billing and what we do with some of the major US partners, but having the content still available through our product, just through like 2-3 different clicks. If I like Twitch, where we don't have a deal, for example, but as a customer, I might like Twitch, so I can just download it and it's there. So that's basically what advantage this brings to us compared to, in Germany, we had a solution based on Linux. And with similar partners, we had conversations like, okay, can you come to our platform? They say, yeah, pay us $5 million and then we'll build the app for you. It's nice. But
yeah. So now it's more standardized and a bit cheaper to get on there.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. So let's stay with this topic of bundling, because I think it's an interesting one to pull on a little bit. This is, I guess we would call this a hard bundle, where you have somebody who's actually delivering your content potentially in a hard bundle. How do you guys view this sort of approach versus the Amazon approach, which I would couch as maybe a soft type of bundle? How do you think about those two approaches?
I think it all comes down to A, consumer choice, and then B, price. And for us as a kids provider, when you look at hard bundling into pay TV packages with mobile operators or however you're doing a hard bundle, what they're evaluating is, do I have enough consumers that are going to care about kids content being a part of this package, or are they going to look at it and say, oh, I'm overpaying for content that I'm not even going to consume? So where aggregators like Amazon, where it's a softer approach, really help us is that everything, the whole emphasis is on consumer choice. So we can super target parents or people that have young kids in their family and know that they are going to actively consume the content versus people who are then going to see it as part of a package and go, well, I don't have kids, so it's just there and it's putting the cost up, and therefore I'm going to then shop around it at other providers.
Yeah. Anita, have you looked, how do you look at the two?
I think soft bundling is very important for us. Amazon Prime has really helped us grow, especially in the US. So especially also people come in and out of the service, and being in an environment like that makes it very easy. Hard bundling would be interesting, but I think for an organization as small as ours to actually do it in a direct fashion just takes a lot of organization. It takes aligning sort of your long-term goals and stuff like that, which I think at this stage we really are working on our messaging specifically for one target audience. So it would probably be hard in our journey at the moment to really look at hard bundling. If a platform partner had to put us together with a really big other service that has a like-minded audience, then we're totally up for that, so come to us.
I guess putting you in a sports bundle wouldn't make much sense.
It wouldn't make much sense, but there are other services like ours, and I think it's just about getting the messaging straight about what is the consumer getting out of that bundle. And we are, we know we're niche, and there are other very similar niche services, but it's just about making sure that works for the consumer.
Kate, soft bundling a better option for you?
We would certainly look at distribution on other platforms. I think just depends on the maturity of the service. The Fern Cotton product that I'm working on at the moment is in its first year of life cycle. And as you'll all know, when you try and do something, it's months till you get to where you need to be and its priorities. But certainly distribution, would form part of our future strategy, for sure.
So can I ask a sort of more general question? Mike, close your ears for a second. Just don't pay attention. Are you getting the data you get back on the performance with the aggregators? Is that everything you wish it were? Are there big areas of that are missing that you wish you had more information on with these aggregators, Anita?
We're getting good data in terms of what people are watching. We're not getting great data of where they're going after they've watched that journey. We're getting good data in some cases. I know Comcast, they put us on the Zuma, for example, or Zumo, and then we actually saw people coming into X1, which is where we also, as a soft bundle. So we see some of those journeys, but obviously we don't have the full insight that we have with our D2Cs, which is why there's a bit of a shift in focus now. you know, to being able to have that audience data, you know, and viewer data especially.
Yeah. Ben, there's nothing like first-party data, right? Are you
No,
getting
no.
everything you would like from Amazon and from? Well, sorry, let's not single out Amazon.
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
say
yeah.
that you're
Focus on
working
that.
with
But-
lots.
You know, a lot of these platforms, they're very similar. They give you top-line content data. But what's important for us in terms of strategy is understanding if there are multiple purchase points, where users are purchasing, and then where they're consuming, so where they're watching. And that falls into, you know, which device. And, you know, partners like Amazon, other partners, they have applications available on multiple platforms. It's useful for us from a strategy perspective to say, okay, we know that Samsung TVs or LG TVs have the highest consumption of our content via these aggregators. Therefore, that's going to inform our D2C strategy when we look at building applications for those platforms.
100%. I think just to build on that, it's that diversification of data.
Yeah.
So to compare and contrast from each of the different platforms, obviously D2C is very rich. You own the data, you can see it real time, you can test and iterate quickly and easily. But to have these other, you know, multiple sources of data, somewhere, you know, the audiences are far greater, and you're in competition with other brands that, you know, ordinarily you wouldn't have had the access to, is rich. So I think diversification of channels it's all part of that picture of understanding your consumer and how they want your content.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for us and for you guys as well, it's probably about, like, we are looking at different data sets.
Yes.
So we're looking at, you know, which content gets consumed the most because it's kids' content, so people will watch and watch and watch. But for you guys, I'm guessing it's very different in terms of, like, looking at not only what content, but what the session time is and what the repeat viewing is, and you know, maybe even when people are consuming
It's a whole host of things. In fact, most recently, I asked the question, because it's a meditation and well-being app, you know, do you feel happier after watching a piece of content? And pleased to say 81% of them said that they did. And some of the 19% that didn't say anything were actually didn't respond at all. But, you know, you can ask all sorts of data, you know, if you're in charge of, you know, how you do it. So,
Can I ask about community? It sounds to me like in all your cases, community is a very important part of the marketing aspects of your content. Is that true?
it's number one for me. So I think either finding communities or monetizing communities is the business that I'm working in. So for example, on Davina's fitness app, we have a Facebook group, over 40,000 people. So when we sell a subscription, we send people to the Facebook group within a couple of hours of somebody going in. There's over 70 comments welcoming them. These people meet up, you know, out of the group. They're very tight. If they churn, not very many people do, but if they did, they tend not to leave the group. And so this group is just growing and growing and growing. And I think talking about working with the retail partners, so Nobody's Child, Silent Night, M&S, Picture House, some of the partners I've worked with this year, Horlicks, it's looking at these mailing lists, and sometimes they're over 500,000 strong, and thinking, where is that relationship if we can cross over and have a partnership where somebody will get added value from the partnership between.
I hadn't thought about that aspect. It's not only reaching out and telling that group about your service, it's winning them back too.
Yeah.
What a resource, Anita.
Yeah, I think sort of the non-content partners are also really important for us, or the non-player partners like the London Philharmonic and the London Symphony Orchestra and the Washington Ballet. They all have their own communities as well. So by getting content from them, we also market at their communities, and that's also been really successful for us, sort of getting those partners who we get content from to also tap into their communities and into their socials. So that's been
And they
really
become
handy for us.
ambassadors and they're advocates, and
Exactly.
it's a very, very strong marketing channel of its own. It has a life.
This is a very common thing. So I talk to a lot of, I'm a bit of a conference hound, and I talk to a lot of smaller content providers. And community is the number one thing.
Number one.
Number one, by far. Okay, I actually do want to pull on that thread a little bit about non-traditional
Yes,
partners. But before we get there, I wanted to bring Mike back here. Mike, how discovery, UX experience is a very important part of what these folks are looking to you to bring. Talk to us a little bit about how you're doing that.
Yeah, so basically, super aggregation is a term everyone is using, but basically, where does super aggregation start and where does it stop? I think where a lot of companies are already now, they can, whether it's via Android or other solutions, they offer basically the well-known content partners. But how you can basically differentiate from them is if you have really overarching features, whether it's like universal search, things like that. And in order for us as an aggregator to activate this, we also basically need quality data in from the content producers, because if the metadata is not accurate or metadata is not even provided, we cannot build a construct around this where this is properly served. And obviously, the universal search is basically something which you can already do today if the data is there, but there might be innovative solutions in the future coming to make this even better. I don't know, thinking about, there's still this bulky remote control where I always need to press 30 buttons until I have my full Lord of the Rings title typed in. If I can do it via voice, and the voice search is even smarter, like sensing what is the tone of the customer or something like this, and building on comments like, bring me comedy, and this guy is I don't know, it's not feeling that happy at the moment, and he shows you something that is just like nonsense stuff, that really funny, going to the point. That's something where you can probably differentiate in the future.
Are some of the partners that you work with more willing to work with you on universal search than others? And if you want to name names, you can do that.
Yeah, obviously I cannot name any partners here, but yes, obviously that's true. There are some partners that are more open to that, and some that are more reluctant. But I think also like some other operators, they have the same situation. Everyone is very open to talk about this topic. But doing the first step, I want to be now the first to provide you this and lead the charge. Try to find this partner. If he's here, let me know.
Very good. So I wanted to come back to this non-video partnership issue. And actually, I also want to talk about competitor partnerships, but we'll get there in just a second. So you mentioned a couple. Tell us a little bit more about these non-video partnerships that you've struck, and how do they work?
So they started initially as content partnerships. So we work with a lot of the performing houses, and sorry to preempt, but a lot of those can be competitors as well. So Royal Opera House has their own player, Glyndebourne has their own player, but we get content from, for example, LSO, LPO, Washington, a lot of these performing houses, and it's not a priority for them to build a service where they can actually host this content, and that's what we're doing. We can put them in front of a much wider audience than they would themselves, because we have developed all the apps for all the platforms, and we have got these platform partnerships. So we can give them something, that's sort of the exposure for their performing houses, and actually get their content out there. And in return, we can work with them in terms of their fans and their members. And a lot of these people have very, very close and very dedicated members who go to these houses, 3-4 times a year easily. So we can work with them either through marketing or through their CRM-based marketing, just to actually showcase what Marquee TV has of theirs and bringing them into the service.
This sounds like a very equitable exchange, doesn't it? You help them reach into the digital world, and they help you expand your user base and exposure.
Yeah, and we have a role to play within the performing arts space, right? The Arts Council funding is getting less and less for a lot of these places, and actually they need to fill some revenue, sort of additional revenue, and also additional exposure, and that's where we're very happy to step in.
Yep. Ben, non-traditional, non-video partnerships, are you involved in those?
Yeah, this is, part of the strategic plan for this year is to identify what those partnerships can look like, and there are some very obvious ones. There's a lot of retailers in our core markets that, are offering loyalty programs or incentivization, and they're looking for digital products that they can bundle, with those types of, subscription products. And, the other half of it is, let's find content owners or content providers that are not really in the digital space, where we can leverage our platform and our expertise in content creation. So, one right now that I'm, in discussion with is the British Basketball League. They have games that are broadcast on Sky Sports. They distribute in the US. They have their own, YouTube channels that get very strong viewership. That is an industry, or a kind of industry body that is in the digital space, but they're not necessarily in the kid space in the same way that we are. So my approach to them is, let's work together and partner on, a game, a video, a series that can live within our platform, that grows awareness of their sports brand to our audience, and then we get, contra things from them as well.
Again, very much give and take. It seems like that's a really critical component. Kate, I can think of a bunch of potential partners for you. I wonder if there are any partners that you can talk about and what your strategy is there.
Well, I suppose it just goes back to, I'll give you maybe some examples, but Davina is an ambassador role. She works with TUI Blue, which is a holiday company. So you can see how the parallels between her fitness product and going on holiday, and how you can find that sort of relationship, which is often run around extended free trials or particular challenges that people can get involved with, before they do it. One of the partnerships I did with Picture House, which is the cinema chain, was again that we could give some discounts to members of the chain. It might be that you put a sting in, or an ident in front of some of the films where everybody does a breath work, so they calm, they leave the outside world outside before they come in and start to watch a film. It might be that in some of the communal areas you have some soundscapes, or that you have stress stations, or you have, there is just, honestly, it's just a whole heap of stuff. And then doing things with physical units as well. So just in a deal with Horlicks, again, because I do lots of sleep stories and lots of, people winding down. There's now 1 million units in store at the moment with our branding on, creating awareness, extended free trials. Did sleep stories with Silent Night, who are the bed manufacturers, and do pillows and mattresses, and so giving away sleep stories to anybody who buys a bed. Or there's just it's infinite. And I've trialed maybe 15 of them this year. It's been fascinating to see what the impact has. Who are the people that convert? Who are those that don't? What happens after the free trial? Do they stay? Do they go? Are certain cohorts more sticky than others? It's a whole world.
Very good. Sam, we have a panel that we have to do next year. We have to ask these guys back and ask them how their non-traditional partnerships are doing, because I think that will be a very fascinating... Very good. Okay, so one of the things that I've noticed happening in the US market is competitors, they're creating competitor bundles. Even I think there's one with Verizon Plus Play, which is powered by Bango, who I think is here.
We're on that as well.
I think they have actually combined, I think it's Netflix and Paramount Plus at a discount price, which is, these are competitors. Are there opportunities for Mike? Perhaps are you looking at this as something that you can do with people that you're working with? And then I'll ask you about if you've thought about doing this with your potential competitors. Mike?
Okay. I think it depends on how you define competition. If I would look really on a telco level in our markets, I would say at the moment, no, this is not our thinking, because our numbers are good. We are growing customers in pretty much every market, so there's no need for us right there. And in fact, what we are doing with Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus is already this. We're offering it in a bundle because they're competition. We have the linear TV ownership maybe of the customer base, and they bring the SVOD, so it's necessary for us to do it. And so this is what we're already living in terms of telcos. Maybe in terms of sharing rights for sports or something like this could be something where we could think about cooperating, because also for us as a big operator, we don't have the deep pockets to compete with what's paid there for, say, high quality Bundesliga in Germany or Champions League or whatever rights you name it. But yeah, in essence, I think
that's such a good example, because although those rights may be owned by different people, they're not overlapping. So you can combine them as a convenience for your customers, get more subscribers for those services, and increase the stickiness of your platform. So I'm wondering if you guys have experimented, thought about working with maybe not competitors, but associated services. Has that been something that you've looked at doing?
You mentioned Plus Play, Verizon Plus Play. We actually launched on there as well through Bango. with the sole purpose of that potentially, you know, being in a big market like the US where we could potentially bundle with some of the other, and they've got a lot of non content based subscription on services as well. So, but it's normally the big ones that go first, right? And then it trickles down later. If you look at competitors in our space, it would be potentially Met or Royal Opera House or Glyndebourne, and we see them partly, you know, we get some of their top content, which we serve globally. And I think to actually start a partnership with them might be a bit difficult because we've got different objectives, different business models, different purposes, and sort of actually aligning the longer term objectives of those might be difficult for a small platform like us.
Yeah, and I guess the big question you would all ask yourselves is, does this get me more audience? Does does it change the equation for a set of customers that I can't or aren't reaching right now? Right?
We'll let you know soon. For us, we're going to bundle with Hey You, so that will be quite interesting. You might think that, you know, two very different products, but actually there is a bit of an overlap there. So we'll see how that goes.
Another thing we need to explore next year. That's fantastic. So okay, so I think I've got one last question, and I think I'm going to give you a little bit longer. I was going to do this as a quick fire. But I wanted to ask you, what technologies will have a meaningful impact on streaming operators, reducing delivery costs, or raising revenue prospects for streaming in the 2024-2025 time frame? So I'm going to start with Mike, I think.
Okay, the quick answer is AI, and the longer answer is, I think it definitely has a lot of opportunity to lower operative costs. It can simplify a lot of workflows, where it's like a AI adaptive streaming, which I think Netflix is already doing very well. In content production, it can save you a lot of costs. We have like one solution with a partner in Germany where we basically provide a fully AI managed camera for amateur teams and like the not top football. This camera basically just tracks the ball. You don't need to send out this operative whale, and it's very, very well working. You don't see the difference any longer. And maybe AI can also be the solution for generating revenue if you do it very well. I already mentioned this like voice smart solution. If you find really a tricky way to differentiate from other services, why not ask for extra revenue on it?
That's very interesting. Changing the economics and making what was uneconomic to deliver economic. That's an interesting approach. Kate, no repeats, by the way. You can't say AI.
No repeats. Well, I was going to say that I'm interested in real-time e-commerce, because massive in certain parts of the world. China, I think 2/3 of people have purchased a product in live e-commerce, and I think it's fascinating, and I'd be so interested to see how we start to make more of an industry of that here. But then listening to Faz, who was a couple of sessions back, she talked about AI, but in terms of subscription management, and I just have to say that right, which is being able to optimize and understand that onboarding process and really fast track it, because you can keep iterating and moving it slightly. Was it 55 shades of blue or something, the Facebook analogy, where, you know, they made millions by just changing the hue of the blue. And if AI could help you figure out that, you know, which you can do, but it just takes ages to say, you know, if people watch at least or engage with at least 3 pieces of content a month, they're much less likely to churn, right? So you can set all these rules, and the data is there, but it takes ages to learn it. And if AI were able to just sort of to spit this kind of data out to you, then how powerful that would be.
Yeah.
And time saving and just amazing. So I've changed that.
I think I agree with you. It's one of the most important applications. I think it's allowing
Game
us.
changer.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could be. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I think content discovery, I mean, people have spoken a lot today about content discovery and user data, but specifically about, specifically about how data is not shared across all the platforms and the operators, right? And the platform and the subscription services. that's going to be the key thing, because for us, you know, as a kids provider, the metadata that we're creating for our own products is very different to what you know, we might deliver to a platform and what they might want within their content discovery platforms. It's more specific. So, you know, it's really, it would be more useful for us in the future if they could leverage the data that we have in our own app, but also just, you know, the data that people generate on a daily basis while using all of these different solutions and text.
Very good. Anita,
So-
you have the
so
last
unfair.
word.
So unfair that I'm not allowed to repeat
What
that.
he said.
Yeah.
What he said. No, I think especially from a consumer point of view, you just want to be able to discover the content that you want wherever it's being served. And a lot of people have talked about that, and everybody's talking about the prisoner's dilemma and all of that. So I'm going to repeat that, because I think that would be a really good, just from a consumer point of view, just sort of discoverability across all the multiple platforms. And we're getting there, so I think it will make an impact. 24, 25. So I'm breaking your rule. I'm
You've
sorry.
broken my rule.
But I think it's not only about what is streaming where and how to discover it. It's like the relevance of those recommendations.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
the key thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, for me, like my wife watches a lot of user-generated content about pre-loved fashion, and she watches hours of this. That data is not being used by any platform that we use in our house, whether it's CTV or whether it's Virgin or whatever, to give content recommendations that might suit her interests.
Yeah.
And that's the missing element there.
Yeah, yeah. I think I agree with you, knowing that most of the time people come to watch TV, they have no idea what they want to watch.
Yeah.
Those discovery and personalization tools can be incredibly influential. So, Mike, Kate, Ben, and Anita, thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention. And let the beer drinking begin.